Hi, my name is Stephanie Bramwell-Lawes and I work for Bonnier Books UK. My job title is Key Account Manager, working within the UK sales team, and I look after Amazon on the children's side of things. My background in publishing to this point is predominantly children's books. Amazon presents a unique challenge. It is uniquely complex, it is fast-paced, so there's a lot of variety to the job, and it means that your day-to-day, you could be doing a million different things on different days, and I really like that. It's a variety to the job that I really enjoy. It could be anything from presenting highlights to the Amazon team. It could be setting up promotions and deals, things like Prime Day, Black Friday. It could be inputting metadata for different books into our system, trying to make sure that they're all categorised correctly, which is incredibly important. It's a lot of stock management. I realise that all sounds incredibly dry. Incredibly dry. I promise it's interesting. I've been working in sales, in digital sales, for several years now, more than 5 years, and I promise you it is interesting, and I enjoy it very much. I took a slightly long and winding route into publishing. To this day, I've worked in publishing for 13 years and I have never lived in London, and I still don't. Publishing is still very London-centric. It is changing, a lot of publishing houses are now opening satellite offices around the country, which is fantastic, but it is still very London-centric, as I say, which means that, getting into the industry, if you don't live in London, can be slightly more difficult. I came out of university in 2009 knowing that I wanted to give books one shot. I wanted to see if I could get into the industry. I hadn't done a lot of research. I just knew that books were and had always been my first love, and I just wanted to give it a try. I went back to Bath after university, which is where I'm from, started putting my very limited CV into local bookshops, just trying to get a foot in the door, and I got extremely lucky. A very kind, very wonderful local bookshop in Bath got back to me and said that they didn't have anything within their shop themselves, but they did know somebody who had just moved back from London and was starting up their own small publisher packager based in Bath, and they were looking for an assistant. And so they passed my details on, I applied for the job, and that is how I got started. In any sales role really, it can be extremely fast-paced, so you have to be adaptable, you have to be able to think on your feet. Trends come out of nowhere, so you have to be able to capitalise on those and make sure that you ride that wave of momentum when the opportunities present themselves. It does help to be a good negotiator. I was not a good negotiator when I first started out in sales many years ago, and that's definitely a skill that I have learned along the way. I really enjoy the people aspect of the job as well. I really enjoy, that face-to-face time where you are talking about your list and what you have coming up, and you really get to communicate that enthusiasm that you have about your books and your authors and illustrators. That's something that I really enjoy. I think it's fair to say there are quite a lot of meetings in publishing, but they are all very, certainly the meetings that I attend are all extremely useful. It could be anything from, a sales-oriented, sales-focused meeting where you're discussing progress from the previous week, as I mentioned before, any trends that might have cropped up, anything that we think we should be doing, or planning for upcoming. We start to plan for these things quite far out. Plan for publication and launches, etc. Then there are the meetings with the editorial team where they tell us what's coming through, any submissions that they might have received that week that they'd like to discuss with sales and marketing. It really is a team decision when it comes to the projects that you feel passionately enough that you would like to take on. Again, those are my absolute favourites. I love talking about new authors and illustrators coming through, and I think there's a lot of passion in those meetings that really helps get the sales team very excited to go out and sell these books, and the marketing team to market them, etc. So I would say that those acquisitions meetings are my favourites. And then we have meetings with the marketing team too, so they will tell us what plans they've got for books coming up to launch. And obviously the sales teams tie in with marketing very closely, because quite often If there is, a surge of PR and marketing, that can correlate to a surge in sales as well. So we have to make sure that we work very closely in tandem to make sure that we're getting the very, very best out of our books and getting the very best for our authors as well. Publishing is known for having quite a lot of meetings, but I thoroughly enjoy them. Quite a lot, actually. I've been working in publishing I might have said this already, I've been working in publishing for 13 years now. But one of the side effects of not living and working in London, I only started working in London coming up to a year ago now, out of 13. So I have always felt in a strange way that I've been working in publishing, but somehow on the periphery, sort of circling the hub of publishing for over a decade, if you will. So there is actually a great deal that I still would like to know about the industry, and this is coming from someone who, I've worked in editorial, I've worked in production, and I've worked in sales, so I really have run the gamut of publishing positions and approached the production of a book from almost every conceivable angle, apart from marketing. That's probably the one, and design, the one or two areas that I haven't touched. But it does mean that, coming to work for a big London publisher for the first time, there's actually still a lot that I don't know. And every week is a learning experience, and I'm really just trying to soak it all up, because I always hoped, I suppose, that I would make it into a London publishing house eventually and see how it's all done. So I couldn't really pinpoint one thing. I'm just trying to be like a sponge, have some absolutely fantastic colleagues with a huge wealth of knowledge, so I'm just trying to learn from them as much as possible. The variety, there's a lot of variety in sales. I do love the fast-paced nature of it. It keeps you on your toes, and you always have to be prepared for the unexpected. And then on a sappy note, it's the team. The team at Bonnier, both the UK sales team and just the wider teams, really. It's a lovely atmosphere, it's a family atmosphere. It's a lovely thing to be a part of, and I feel very spoiled. So other than the nuts and the bolts of the job, just that team environment, it makes you feel very inspired to really go out and try and get the best deals you can and the most exposure that you can. So I feel incredibly grateful for that. I have a lot of publishing is a very interesting industry. A lot of interesting things happen, a lot of stories. I would probably say my most interesting story and my favourite memory from working in industry are one and the same. Within the first 6 months of my first job in Bath, when I was working for the small publisher packager, I was in an editorial role. I was an editorial assistant technically, but I was also the only full-time member of staff. So I had my fingers in lots of pies, and I had a hand in everything. One of the strangest things I had a hand in was we were working on a book at the time with a famous film director who just so happened to be coming to London very close to the book being published to work on a new film. Through some happenstance or another, myself and my boss ended up going to London to be extras on the film. And I think I sat there, it was an incredible experience. We were there for 2 or 3 days on the set, and I think I thought, oh my god, I have arrived, publishing, this must be happening every day. It doesn't. It doesn't. To this day, I think I can still count maybe on 2 hands the amount of industry events I've been to in 13 years. So I had that, real false start where I was just like, oh wow, it's all, there's glitz and glamour. I mean, there is glitz and glamour, but that, ending up on a film set does not happen every day. And I would say that you wouldn't normally associate glitz and glamour with sales either. So, but yeah, it was a great experience. I still think about it now. And I think my friends think that that's what publishing is, but it's not. The most challenging part of my job. So I've talked a lot about variety, sales being fast-paced and that keeping you on your toes, and that's great, that's true, I really enjoy that. That can also be the biggest challenge as well. Sometimes things move so quickly that you feel like you're chasing your tail, so constantly trying to stay on top of the changes and the trends and sudden spikes in sales. That has kept me up at night 1 or 2 times, but it's exciting and I wouldn't change it. What is one thing I have learned about the publishing industry? I mean, I could produce a scroll of things that I have learned about the publishing industry. Still learning all the time. I think the one thing that baffled me when I first started, and even when I talk to my friends now, they find that incredible, is the time that it takes from acquiring a book to publishing it. Obviously there are occasions where something is pushed out very quickly in exceptional circumstances. That does happen. But by and large, the process of, when an author has signed a contract with you to actually seeing their book physically on bookshelves can take, normally takes upwards of 12 months. Sometimes it can take 24 months. So it is a very long development process. As I say, it's not always the case. A lot of the time it is the case. And that's because publishing lists fill up very far in advance. Publishing is all about planning ahead. We're already looking to 2024 and things that we're looking for that might complement our existing list then. And that baffles people when I tell them. But quite a lot of chess pieces need to be moved around to make sure that we give our books the best possible launch. So that's giving marketing time to prepare long-term campaigns. The same with retailers, making sure that they get it in that prime space you're looking for. That can all take time, not to mention the editors who are steadily working away with the authors on getting the text just right for our readers. So it takes an incredibly long time, or it can take an incredibly long time, and often does, and that is something that a lot of people just can't wrap their heads around. Once you get into publishing, it's just par for the course. But yeah, try telling someone that for the first time. Oh, we love your book, we can't wait to sign it. You will see it in 2 years. So yeah, that's something unusual that I don't think everybody knows. Don't give up. That's such a cliche, but it's true, and I really do strongly believe that. If it's something that you really want, and this goes for trying to get into the publishing industry or anything in life, I truly believe that you shouldn't give up on it, and you should back yourself and believe in yourself. Also, don't do what I do, which was, I knew I loved books, and just blindly trying to, give my CV to anyone that I thought would look at it. That's fine, but I would do some research. I think try and find out a little bit about, obviously the companies that you're applying for, what attributes are they looking for, and also what job role do you want to do in the industry. I hadn't done any research when I got into the industry, and there are so many different types of roles you could do. There's PR, marketing, sales, design, there's international sales, co-edition sales, editorial, the list goes on. Really have a think about what area of the industry you would like to go into and why. I think, like most people, I automatically assumed editorial, and that's where I started. And that's the role that I think most people aspire to, because it's the role that most people associate with publishing, being an editor. But I think, although there's a part of me that thinks I would still love that, I really thoroughly enjoy my role in sales, and I like to think of myself as being a people person. I love to communicate with people about books, and there's a huge amount of variety to the job, and that's what really attracted me to sales in the long run. But I didn't get there overnight. I definitely didn't get there overnight. It took a long time, quite a bit of trial and error, figuring out what worked for me, what didn't, and where I could, where my skill set was most applicable and where it wasn't. So do your research, really have a think about what skills you could bring to the role, and whether that is something that you would enjoy. But mostly, don't give up on it. As I say, I've spent most of my career outside of London, but I still, enjoyed a good career, I think, outside of London. Or certainly I enjoyed it. I'll let others judge whether it's good or not, but I thoroughly enjoyed myself. It took a long time to get where I wanted to be, but I didn't lose sight of that end goal, and, I got there eventually. So stick with it and don't give up. What one book should everyone read? That's a good one. I'm a girl who loves her classics, so I would probably pick Jane Eyre. Love Jane Eyre. Defy anyone not to love Jane Eyre. If there's anyone out there who doesn't love Jane Eyre, we'll have to have a chat. And Lord of the Rings. Two completely different genres, polar opposites. Lord of the Rings, I must have read both Jane Eyre and the Lord of the Rings trilogy a million times. They're completely different and uniquely fantastic. So they would be my two picks.